Okay, good. Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's Funding Circle open meeting. I am going to do two things. To start off with, I'm going to give a little bit of an introduction, and I'm going to share with you the agenda. And I think I do this by sharing my screen. Share. It may take me a moment. Oops. That's not what I want to do. Can you see my screen? Yes, I see nodding. Very good. Okay, we're here for an hour and a half. If you need to leave, then you can do so at any time you want. The meeting is going to be recorded and will be shared with the people who have accepted the invite, and also publicly on the CoLab YouTube and also in the CoLab Slack channels, and also in the funding circle directly. So anyone in the funding circle who is there can have a look at what this open meeting is about, because I hope so at least, that there will be subsequent meetings to this one. In the invitation, we covered that there's going to be an agenda, and we will cover context and brief history of the circle, the impact we've had over the past 3 years, and the shifting landscape and possibilities for growth. If there's some objection to this agenda, please speak now before I launch right into it. So I ask for consent for the agenda. All good? Yeah, thumbs up from Neynad. Looking good. Okay. You can also unmute yourself and tell me if you have an objection. The meeting is primarily aimed at people who have benefited from the funding circle work, who want to contribute to funding circle work and see themselves having the skills and access and possibility to do so. Also, it's good, I think, for people who are interested in the funding circle in general, just to have a little bit more context about it. The first, all of these basically agenda items speak to that. It doesn't mean that you have to do anything after this meeting with this, but if you want to join us on this circle, then we'll just stick with it, and there will be some exercises for you to do. Okay, so that's the agenda. Before I launch into it, you see that I'm sharing a Miro board. I'm going to share the link to the Miro board with you, because I would like you to add yourself on the list of attendees for today. And it will get you also going a little bit. Copy board link. I'm gonna stop sharing here. Share it in the chat. And we're going to use Miro as a co-creative tool. So if you're interested in like the full participation experience, this is a good way to participate. And as soon as you're in, you'll pop up on my screen and I'll bring you to me. Okay, so bring everyone to me. So this is you can see, I think, on your screen, a list of attendees, which is a bunch of lorem ipsum and myself. So please pick a lorem ipsum and make it your own. It's important that we have a way to contact you, especially if you're not a CoLab member or if you're coming from other networks. So please include what network you're coming from, any relevant experience, and any relevant contact details that you want to share with us. You don't need to include your LinkedIn profile necessarily, but if you have it handy, then it's a good way to do it. To edit the boxes, you just double click on one lorem ipsum thing, and you just basically edit it. If someone's already editing your box, then please click on another one. Okay, I see that Neynad and Paul are at it already. Everyone else is maybe not there. I'm gonna bring you to me. Okay, Cormac is also at it. Well done. Good. If you're ready with your text, just put it under mine. Let's make it look nice. So we'll organize the columns. And I see Daniel is also at it. Well done.
Complete. What do you think?
Looks good. Maybe email address or something.
For others, or
It's up to you. An email address where we can reach you, or I mean, I can reach you. So
I mean,
for me,
I'm
this is enough. And
I'm
you're
in
on the
CoLab
CoLab
Slack,
Slack.
and there is
Yeah.
all my contact information.
That's fine. Okay, I think we're looking pretty good.
I added my email address nevertheless.
Perfect. Good. And then I'm gonna give you another task. Oh, I see someone else is on it. Okay, I'm gonna leave you there to fill in this the lorem ipsum. You just double click on the text where you want to edit and just edit that. Okay, and everyone else seems to be finished. So I'm gonna move on a little, but please do stay on that task if you haven't finished yet. Oops. Okay, so we're gonna do a little bit of a Miro check-in, just so that to get you familiarized with using Miro now that you've had a go at doing some text boxes. And on the slide that's next to, on the left-hand side of this one, which we were working on, you scroll a little bit, you click and drag to the screen to go on it, and let's see how many people arrived. Okay. And basically, the ask is to pick up a red dot, which is on the left-hand side, and I'll bring people to me so they can see it. Here. And you're gonna click and drag the dot to wherever you feel you are at the moment. Okay, I can see what is happening. Okay, that's looking pretty good. We have one low energy overwhelmed, one high energy overwhelmed, and everyone else seems to be on the balanced high energy side. So it's pretty looking very good. Well done. I think you're passing your Miro skills very well. Perfect. Okay. Good. Then I'm right. So I'm going to just go over what the funding circle does. So you can come back to the Zoom rather than looking at the Miro, then we can have, we can have a tete-a-tete, a little bit easier. The funding circle vision, mission, and aims has been crafted right at the beginning of the circle incubation. This was back in 2021, 22. It hasn't been an easy journey. It has been it was very contentious at the time when the circle was first incubated, and it covers a wide range of topics. So it covers identifying funding opportunities, securing and mobilizing resources. It covers building relationship with funders and fundraisers and fiscal hosts, applying on behalf of the CoLab, the members, and any wider movement. Already these three things are really large and crazy ambitious things to do. We also had no opportunities database. So one of the aims was to create the opportunities to access resources and research from permaculture projects, identify priorities, proposal writing and partnerships and so on. Personally, I think that it is time to revisit some of the aims and to consider with the resources that we have available and the people involved, whether this is still feasible, and have a general review of the aims specifically because of the wide range. I also think that some of them are slightly duplicating each other, and they could be more concise and more direct into what we're doing. So this is, I wanted you to read this in the invite because it has to be clear to the people who are wanting to become involved where we're starting from in terms of remit and in terms of breadth of the task that we have available to us. The history of the circle itself, as I said, it started with an incubation phase. The people who helped incubate it, which were, I should have written the names of people because when I'm on the spot, I never remember. There were other people, numerous people. In fact, there was a core team of 3 people, which included myself, and 2 people which have left since left the CoLab. And then Tanya joined later after the circle was incubated. So then for a while, because those 2 people had left, we also got input from the wider community. I remember it was a range of calls that we did with people in the permaculture movement. And this is how that incubation went and where the VMAs have come from. After that, Tanya became involved as a service provider, and she held the role with myself, being 2 people on this like really small circle. And we wanted to work mostly on the business development side of it because Tanya didn't have the capacity to contribute unless the work was paid. So there was a constraint within the team how much we could get done because of the funding that was available to us and what the funding really covered. On the other hand, I was kind of co-founder of this incubation thing, and I was there as a support, but I wasn't there enough. This is only my estimate of myself because I am spread out thin across the CoLab a lot. So in my introduction there with the list of attendees, I wrote, I am a member of all circles. This might sound like a boast, but actually I think it's a, it's a very bad thing. I held the funding circle with Tanya as best as I could. But I think it's time now to broaden a little bit our team, have different, think about different kinds of models, how we want to approach the work, how does voluntary work sit within this team, and how does it operate. I would also like to talk a little bit about how this sits within the CoLab and what is the relationship between the funding circle and the CoLab and its microenterprise. So as you know, I think actually January is not a CoLab member, but everyone else is a CoLab member, and you would have had your introduction and onboarding to the CoLab. You know that within the CoLab, which is a self-organizing group of people, we are not incorporated, we're not a company, we're not an association, we're just a loose conglomerate of people who self-organize around things that we want to work in. It's the same in the funding circle. We are not incorporated. We are loosely connected with each other and working on these aims that we have in our co-creation process. So that's the relationship. We are a circle within the CoLab of a group of freelancers. The idea at the beginning was that we would be a much wider circle. So sometimes in the channel, you will refer to circle members because we considered, we meaning myself and Tanya, who was holding a core position there, we considered everyone who's a member of the channel as a member of the circle. And the involvement of the circle members was limited to sharing funding opportunities on the Slack channel using the funding opportunities database and applying for anything that we put out. So that was more a consumer relationship. There was little exchange. Some people share funding opportunities, but actually most of the sharing was done from the team to the members. This is also something that can change, and we will later on in the talk, I will also talk about the different levels of engagement that are possible, and also maybe some different co-creative models that we could explore together. I must say that I'm here talking because I have context and I've been here all along. That doesn't mean that I'm here to make the decisions for the circle. The circle, because everything in the CoLab is co-created and co-held and self-organized, I am calling you in to do this with me. Let's do this together. And I understand this is maybe alien in most working spaces because in working, companies, they have hierarchical setups and so on. It's not the case here. Everyone has an equal voice. I might have more context. You might have more expertise. It's just different perspective. Okay, so I think I've covered the first kind of agenda item there. I did also prepare a slide. So on the Miro, if you go back to the Miro, there is a slide about how we got here. It covers mostly, I'm going to bring you to me so you can see it. It covers the timeline and basically a summary of what I just said. Okay. Are you here? Let's see if I bring you to me. I see Danielle is there. Good. Don't worry about the slides. I will make them into a PDF and send you a copy later. So they will be publicly available as well. Okay. Why does our work matter? I think I'm preaching to the converted here, but I want to cover it to make sure that we're all on the same line. Our work matters because the good work in the world is underfunded. Basically, that's it. Not only underfunded, this is not only about accessing money, but also strengthening the movement to enable cooperation and mutual support between the players. So as a funding circle, we're not only there to just help you apply for the funding and get on with it, but the CoLab itself was built to shore up the cooperation. And within the funding circle, we can also do this. So for example, there is potential for having group applications for larger funding across multiple continents. We have relationships with various fiscal hosts, one in Europe and one in the UK, and we want to have other fiscal hosts also in the US. So we can apply for funding across a worldwide span. This is really like a great thing that an organization or an individual project, small project, doesn't have access to. So together we are mightier and we can do bigger and better things. This is the kind of spirit we want to foster and the people who want to engage with the circle, and obviously together we can achieve bigger things and faster, and we don't have to duplicate our efforts. Our learnings we can share with other people. If we spot a training for people learning about how to do grant funding, we could also share that, not only funding opportunities. If someone is drafting an application and someone else has time to check it, great, or give some input, some feedback, something. So there's a lot of potential for really acting as a multiplier for the permaculture movement efforts. Okay, I just realized I'm doing a lot of talking. I'm going to talk about the impact we've had, I think, and this carries me back. So from the beginning of the circle, like I said, there was no funding opportunities database. So most of our efforts and funded efforts from the Next Steps project specifically, about 20 grand were invested into building the funding opportunities database we have today, which is the largest database of its kind in the world for permaculture projects. It's a huge achievement. It has come with a lot of hard work on Tanya's behalf, because Tanya was doing this painstakingly, checking overall, researching, documenting, logging. And in this third year of funding, there is going to be a shift from the database building into the trying to secure future funding for CoLab, specifically for CoLab, not within the complete VMAs of the funding circle, which I outlined, but only for the CoLab to be able to continue. Why? Because if the CoLab doesn't exist and the funding circle doesn't exist, then we can't find opportunities and help other people with their needs, right? So we need to take care of our core infrastructure and so on to be able to continue. So this year, that funding is going to shift largely, because there's still a small portion for funding maintenance for the database, largely will be shifted towards employing a funding strategist and grant writer who basically outlines a strategy for the CoLab and starts working on that strategy with the hopes that we secure funding for the CoLab to continue. Why is it relevant here? Because this circle is not going to work on that strategy unless there's people here who want to volunteer to feed into it. The efforts mostly of the circle is going to be to try and address the other aims which are going unattended while this other thing is going on. So that's funded, it has some energy, and people will be recruited. But the other aims are going to go unfunded and unmanned unless we do something about it. And by we, I mean you, I, the community, everyone that has an interest in seeing this work continue. Okay, so that's that. I just realized I've been talking for 25 minutes. I'm gonna drink some water. Okay. So now we're going to go into the different levels of engagement. And I want to encourage you to, if you think, oh, I don't have so much time for this, or I find the work really interesting, but actually, how am I going? I don't have the skills, I don't have time, I don't know anyone here, or I don't know what to do or where to start. Don't worry, we're going together. There's a space for everyone. If you have 1 hour a month, we have a job for you. If you have 6 days a week, great. That would be amazing. If you don't have skills, you can learn from other people, or we'll send you to some resources where you can upskill. You can shadow someone else also. That's also could be a possibility. We can pair up, so 2 people could work on one aim specifically that calls to them. There's many different possibilities. And so on the Miro, I'm gonna shift you off to different levels of engagement. Let's bring everybody here. For the different levels of engagement, I used the theme onion because I thought it was very useful. Each ring represents different levels of engagement. So we have at the outermost ring and with the most people, hopefully, are the supporters. So these are people who don't have necessarily the time to commit to doing something on an ongoing basis, but they're happy to support the circle every now and then. I've put in some examples there under supporter, but actually if you can also read what that means in the next slide, which outlines what is the meaning of this. So supporters, people that help the team succeed by providing support or cover, alignment, representation. They could be someone on the outskirts of the CoLab or within another network. They could also be someone else in the CoLab who's in another circle and sees some overlap. So basically a little bit on the outskirts of it, on the periphery. The kind of thing they would do, for example, some behaviors could be that they introduce us to a funder. If they use our services for against payment because they have money and they want to support us. They share the funding circle page with contacts. I can think of a few other examples, but these are just a few to get off with. If you think of others, you can always also add more post-its to this if you're thinking, and then don't worry because we have a collaborative exercise later on where you can add your own post-its. The collaborators are people who are more invested. So we're looking at our relationships with fiscal hosts, such as, for example, the Reculture Foundation. They are collaborators with the funding circle because without them, we couldn't exist. We also have funders, and these are people that basically, with their behavior and with their help us to co-design with they help to co-design the services and the fulfillment, the deliveries of our mission and aims with a concrete basis. They might not be in the CoLab necessarily, but we have collaborative relationships with them. And this kind of collaborations could also be across networks. So for example, I know that Nikki was here from the GRC. I know that the GRC is always looking to also to fund their own network. So we could absolutely collaborate with the GRC as a also self-organized group of people, I think. I don't know if they incorporated into an NGO or not. But anyway, we could have that kind of
GRC is using fiscal host based in California.
Okay.
That can be arranged to be a fiscal host for Permaculture CoLab too. So I can connect us with that fiscal host.
So that's the kind of relationship we're talking about here in the collaborator area. And then there is the core. So the core are people who are service providers. They keep the circle running. They have an active commitment over some time and are working on one or more aims with intention. So the kind of commitment that, oh, okay, I'm going to come once a week and do this and work on that specific aim. And I'm going to collaborate with other members in the core team. So these are different levels of engagement. Again, it doesn't cover, these examples only skim the surface really. And I'm going to also, don't worry, I will provide you with copies of what all of this means. So in the next slides, you can see the definitions of what's core and what's collaborator and what's supporter, and you can come up with some ideas. Good. Something I didn't mention, but I feel it's important, is that the funding circle in itself, because it's in the Permaculture CoLab, it's also aligned with the permaculture ethics and principles. So we want to work with people care, earth care, and fair share. And that goes across all domains of our activities and all activities that contribute to our aims. And the idea is to make it worth everyone's while to be here at whatever levels they want to engage in, but also that we treat the people who are coming to us for help with dignity and respect, and to charge fair prices if we're going to do paid services. If we're going to do voluntary services, it also can be a mix, as always. I think it's healthy to have a mix of voluntary services and pro bono work and some funded work. Maybe we can apply for funding, maybe we can have paid work from companies that can apply, but it's not about the money. Essentially, the money goes to support someone's livelihood for providing a service, but it's not about that. It's about providing it because we have determined that there is a need of the word for it, right? And the level at which we can provide it depends at the level of engagement that the members have. Okay, so now we come to the me not talking so much things. I have given you a lot of information already. So we have a little group activity, but before we start, I want to open the room for questions. Do you have any questions up to now? No? I'm so good?
Yes, this was clear and comprehensive.
Okay, January.
Okay, yeah. Firstly, I have to thank Annie for a good presentation. Today being my first day to join this CoLab, I feel that the information which you have given is giving me a clear picture that I have to be an active person into the CoLab. So I'm really happy, and I'm looking forward learning lots of things. Maybe most of the people don't know me actually. I'm not sure if this is the right time to introduce myself or else it will be later. But it's good I have to reserve the protocols as they
No
are.
worries. So in this call, we're not going to go so much into the introductions yet. We're going to go through the group activity first. I know that you're new to the CoLab, so you'll have to go through the onboarding first so that you know exactly what is going on in which places and so on. You can introduce yourself in the everybody channel so that everyone can get to know you a little bit. And okay, I'm going, okay, that answers your question, I guess, for the moment. Perfect. Paul?
Yeah, thanks, Margaret. Thanks for that. I think that's very clear. Just one question on the three, the particular, I guess, around the core. Do you have a particular idea of a number of people in mind? I was seeing in some of the comments as well that I think Nana was saying that 2 is not enough. Don't know how or what is enough for a circle. And typically in your other circles, how many people do you have? And is there like an ideal number in the core group and in the other
Yes.
rings?
It varies, I would say, depending on how active the people in the core group are. I would say 2 is not enough because when there is a disagreement, you don't know which way to go. It's really difficult to navigate. And also, I found that with 2 people, it was hard. It was hard for Tanya, for example, that I wasn't always there to be able to support her. But with more people, that wouldn't have been a problem. We would have been much better at addressing it. In terms of ideal number, I don't know if you've done any work with the Dunbar, the scale, but I think also in like micro solidarity groups is like between 5 and 7 is like the ideal number. But that doesn't mean 5 and 7 is right for this team. I don't know yet. I don't know. I would say 5 would be great if we have 5 or 6 people or 7 people. I don't know. Depending how often we're going to meet, what work are we going to do? I think there's also a minimum amount of contact that is absolutely necessary for the team to function. So to have regular team meetings, maybe once or twice a month would be nice to keep momentum going. Especially if I don't know what we will do with the aims, if they need to be reduced, rejigged, reimagined, whatever. If they stay this large, then we need a really large number of people if we're relying mostly on volunteer time. We need less people if we get funding for those people to be there more fully, like have a paid job there. But I don't know right now. I don't know if this is a clear enough answer for you. I'm sorry, I can't give you any more straight answers than this.
Don't know is a good answer. So that's fine. Thanks.
Okay. Okay,
So
good.
what
So
I understand from what you presented and from this answer to this question, it's about restarting funding circle.
Yes, I think it's a kind of pivotal moment for reimagining the funding circle, what it's doing, who is involved, how are we doing it, where are we aiming, what are we aiming for, and really have an intentional go at it. I think that's where I'm going for at the moment. I would also like, I know I've had a chat with Daniel this week because he said he would like to contribute a little bit time towards the strategy. And that'd be really great because he's already looking at doing some of this work for his own projects. So that's also interesting because the people who are already doing research, for example, for funding opportunities for their own work, or they're already taking some courses or something, or some resort that they have access to, and they want to layer those efforts, then that's easier, isn't it? Because if I have 2 hours to do this job and it also helps you, then let's do that. Let's stack as much as possible. Stacking functions is a permaculture principle, isn't it? Okay, any more questions? No? Okay. Good. Then I think we'll go back to the Miro board and we jump into the group activity. I know that I gave you a lot of information all at once, and maybe some of it was like already in your thinking, but some of it was not. And the activity is all about trying to place yourself into a kind of category. For some of you, it will be easy, and for some of you will be harder. And you do this by picking up a post-it note. I'm going to kick us off. Make this a little bit larger. And the question is, having heard about the team onion and different levels of engagement, how do you see yourself contributing? And you can add your name to the post-it so we know who has written it. Yellow is core, green is supporter, and collaborator is blue. And you double click on the post-it to write into it. Daniel is writing across two post-its.
How to edit the name? Is it by double clicking?
You click on the post-it, double click on the post-it, and it will enable you to edit it. But I don't see you on the board. Maybe you're not on the right board. Let me bring you. I still don't see you. I'm not sure. Okay, so I've seen Maynard's done it. Daniel's across two of them.
Sorry.
Yes, tell me.
Sorry, I lost the connection.
I see you're on the post-it. You just double click on the post-it to write into it.
Are we out of yellow post-its?
What's that?
Are we out of yellow post-its? How do you get a new post-it?
We can make more post-its. That's not a problem. Just copy paste more. Look. There you go. We don't have. Do we have someone from the GRC here, or everyone left?
You can count me as GRC as well.
So can I put you on a GRC for?
Me too.
As a collaborator. You also. So okay, we'll add another one.
Oh yes, Daniel is in GRC as well. Yeah,
I am. Although I don't think GRC has something that we could properly consider a core.
well,
We have
Nikki
some
and
people.
Nikki,
We have some
Nikki
people doing
and
more work.
David
but we don't
Witzel
really
are
have, like,
Nikki and David Witzel are to be considered core at the moment. It's very moving. It's
yeah.
very changing.
And they are making funding applications, so there could be room to collaborate for joint funding applications. I'm gonna write it here.
GRC is very bad at strategizing and preparing funding applications. That was always the problem there.
Okay. I'm gonna write for myself a question to ask Nikki, and then we can see later. Okay, so we've got various bits here.
January. January, I see what you are writing, but the request is to write about how you could contribute to the funding circle. That's the request.
The questions at the top of that what's it called? The words fail me.
Section.
Section, yes.
Oh, okay.
I'm also going to, for the purpose of the recording, I'm going to share my screen for a moment so it will appear in the recording. And maybe January, are you sure you wanted to pick the yellow core color, or was it some other color? I don't know.
Yeah, yellow is okay because I'll also be involved in identifying some communities. I don't know whether that could be yellow, or is it collaborator?
I'm not sure. Well, finish writing your thought in there, and then we can decide together.
Always
I'm
when
finding
it is your first day, it's always difficult.
I'm finding myself using the yellow core sticker, but then writing support everywhere. Then like, hold on, wouldn't that make me a supporter? So I'm trying not to use the support, but it's quite difficult.
If your intention is to be here and to attend team meetings and to hold it, then absolutely you would still be a core, even though you're supporting the aims. I'm getting lots of feedback from your mic, January. Maybe you want to mute yourself when you're not talking.
Oh, sorry, I forgot.
That's okay. Okay, so how are we doing? Daniel, if you had to choose one, where would you put that?
Before answering, I would ask why. I would need to.
I suppose I'm inviting you to clarify where you're sitting, because one needs much more commitment than the other. Go ahead.
No,
that's the answer. That's the answer. Commitment is to be decided by you, not by anybody else, Daniel.
Right now, I'm able to commit certain time, full commitment this slice of time. I'm not sure if more time will be available in the future, but this time will be fully committed.
Perfect. Then I think it's better to have it in yellow and to bracket that commitment with whatever that limitation is, because we're not asking for full-time commitment. We're just asking for a steadfast commitment.
Yes, correct.
And that not only clarifies it to yourself, but also to us. Oh dear, just a second. Okay, how are we doing? Is this thing moving? Do I need to lock it? Maybe I need to lock it.
Is what I wrote correct?
Well, it's nothing wrong or right. It's just a matter of having a look at it. I will be involved in identification of community. I'm not sure what you mean. What do you mean by identification of community?
Sometimes I can identify where to implement the ideas.
I think you need to be a little bit more specific. Can you talk more about what ideas you would what would that look like? Give us an example.
Okay. Okay.
Amy, I think I'm finding it a little bit difficult to disassociate the activities of the funding circle and the funding strategist, although you explained it very well and it was clear. But now I'm also looking at this, and for example, I'm seeing Daniel's and mine, which says co-devising funding strategy.
Yes.
And
yes. So,
which...
Okay, I can talk a little bit more into this, and I think that will put us a little bit clearly. So what Daniel and yourself are looking to do, yes, it's within the funding circle, but would work with the funding strategist and not on the other aims that I have talked about. And that's absolutely fine, as long as that's clear to you and to everyone else what that is.
In my case, I'm thinking of, as you open the what was the page again?
Which one?
Yeah, I'll tell you. Yeah, page number 2. What does the funding circle do? As you open this to be not to be delisted and redone completely, but to open the conversation.
Yes.
That first comment of co-devising funding strategy would touch this as well, because sometimes we need to understand how what we expect fits with what the funder can expect from us as a project funder.
Okay.
So not strictly working with the funding strategist, but also working within the core document as well.
Okay, so let's reword this a little bit and maybe split it.
Yeah.
So that each function is separate and it's more clear. So if you're interested in co-reviewing the aims with a funding strategy in mind, then write that. Because that's different than funding strategy for the CoLab, which is what the funding strategist will be doing. That's very different. Also, I think this clarifies your comment, Paul, maybe. How do you feel about what you wrote now?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think, I mean, I from the first perspective, I guess I'm here to support and try and take the, work things through and support the objectives of the CoLab with whatever way I can. And that's largely normally through, the things that I do, which are more perhaps strategic or developing strategies or fundraising plans and tactics. So that can go across most of these things, I think, probably. So, and it could be on the fundraising strategist side, or it could be from a volunteer side as well within the funding circle, or could be both, I suppose. So I'm happy to leave it like that, because I would imagine in my head the funding strategist would be a core member of the funding circle. I think keeping
but
it
they would
separate
only
might be, but I don't want to assume, but
yes, they would be.
Yeah, you don't want them to get dragged into the other things, but at the same time, obviously,
They will not be working on the other aims. They're only funded to do that one aim, which is pertaining to that CoLab specifically. So only a minute aspect of it. Obviously, they will be also working with all the other circles that exist today, the digital circle, the communication circle, the welcoming circle. So their work is very specific and very objective driven, because we have a commitment to the funder to deliver to that objective. The work of the funding circle is much more free to be co-created and co-designed. Yes, they're complementary, and absolutely, I think they should be a member of the team, but they wouldn't be doing paid work for other things that don't pertain to the grant, if that makes sense.
Okay, I need to go to my next call. Thank you all.
Thank you for coming, Neynad.
Bye.
Bye. Okay, is that clear? Is there any questions about this, what we've been doing? How are you getting on, January?
Hello. Hello.
Oh, someone else is here as well. Is that the same person, or is that someone else?
This
The
is
Peace
Fred.
Foundation?
This is Fred in Uganda.
Fred.
Yeah.
Hi, Fred.
Yes.
We've been in the call already for an hour, so I would ask you to maybe you'll need a little bit more context than for coming in now. So maybe you could watch the recording.
Okay.
Would that be
you.
okay? No
Thank
worries.
you. It will be my pleasure. Yeah, it will be okay, please. Thanks so much. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Perfect.
Yeah. So fine.
And January, I know your post-it looks blank at the moment. So have you decided what you want to put in it, or you need to think more about it?
Currently, because my computer have jammed,
Oh, no.
it is not allowing me to type something.
No worries. I'm going to leave the mirror open, so after this meeting, maybe there's a bit more bandwidth, and you'll be able to complete it at your leisure, okay? Perfect. Good. Before we move on, is there anything else that needs to be said here on this, where we are putting ourselves? So in my mind, my next step after this meeting is to convene with Daniel, Paul, and Cormac, because they have identified themselves as the next core team. Obviously, that's not to say that more core team members couldn't join at the moment, but that would be our starting point. How do we feel about that? I see Daniel nodding, looking good. Okay, perfect. Good. I want to outline a little bit something else. I did mention the community weaving framework in the preparation for this call, and I shared with you a link to learn more a little bit about it. And I want to present a little bit about it here, and I'll explain why. There is a lot of potential in the circle. There is so much potential to do all kinds of things. But we cannot do it if we don't have a good way of being and working together. And the community weaving framework really provides that kind of foundation work, in that we can find a good and common way of being together. The framework consists of 5 elements: the fire, which is the possibility that brings us together; the web, which is the relationship that holds us together; the rhythm is the rituals that we develop, maybe how many times we meet, where we meet, what we are doing, how we are opening our interactions, how we're closing them, how we are being with each other. Then we have the circles, which is the roles we play, and the spiral, which is our individual and collective journey. Each one of us that have put their name in to be in the core team, I know that you have other projects. Let's try and benefit you as a person, your growth, and your projects that you're in. I'm also in many projects, so I have a vested interest to make this work, not only for the wider community, but also selfishly for myself and for the projects that I'm in. I have prepared, or rather, the Community Weaver Network has prepared a very large set of frames, which the core team member will start then going through together. So there will be maybe a couple more meetings where we define what it is that brings us together and so on and so forth, and having a rhythm. But I'm just noticing also the time that we're on the hour, and I have been talking really a lot. So I would like to ask the people that have put themselves in the core team to try and answer. Now we do a round where we talk to each other. To try and answer what brings us together. So I'm gonna stop sharing so we can have a conversation. And I'm gonna name a person, and then that person, when they finish, they can pass it on to another core team member. If it helps, I can make a list, but it's not so long, the list. Okay, so any volunteers? Fred, please don't unmute yourself because there's a lot of background noise.
In the background, yeah, with some youth here. We are from the field. Let me change it.
Okay. So we've got Paul, Daniel, Cormac maybe had to leave. I don't see him.
I'm changing the location. I'm changing the location.
Okay. Okay, Daniel, how do you feel about answering the first question? What is bringing us together, according to you? How would you answer that question?
I think we are all with the clear intention of keep this ball rolling. We have somehow a growing understanding of how the funding circle works with or maybe inside or besides CoLab, and we want it to work better. Some of us may have seen how it was working in the past and want to give some inputs, and some of us clearly don't really know much about what is the difference between the funding circle and the other circles, and what's a circle, etc. So I think the clear intention that I see for myself and for most of us is that we want to contribute to keep the ball rolling.
You want to pass it on?
Yeah, could be
Paul, I think.
Yeah, I guess kind of extending on what Daniel said. So I think that fundamentally we all believe in permaculture. I mean, something that I've come into recently, only since doing systems thinking masters and then coming into into doing the permaculture course and thinking about degrowth and things like this. And so really, I think we all believe in it as in a movement, but that it's a movement that intersects also with many different groups of people from all across the world, and it's something that we can all learn from each other. So it needs something to help that movement for learning to develop, etc., etc. So that's the core thing. But then surrounding that, we all hopefully have some experience or skills or expertise or knowledge or connections around fundraising, and we want to get out there and advocate that permaculture should particularly in terms of bringing permaculture together as a movement, should be funded. And so that's also something that brings us together. And moreover, that there are lots of permaculture projects out there that could really use funding, and that's something that we can work on. So I think that those two shared things around permaculture and around funding obviously brings us to the funding circle. And I will pass on to Alan.
Thanks, Paul. Sorry, I'm a little bit late. I have other meetings, but yeah, the question of like, why are we? What's the question? Why are we here? Why are we gathering? Or you're on mute, Amy, but
I'm muted and talking to myself. The question was, what brings us together? We did quite a bit of work before you came in, Alan, so maybe you don't know how to answer this question just yet.
Yeah.
But if you
I can
have a
answer the
gut
question
response,
generally.
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so for me, like there's there is a little bit of kind of like this, like the online world creates a situation where people that feel like isolated in their local ecosystems can come to a centralized place or to a place online where they can communicate with people that are like-minded and they can learn from. And then the idea is that then we can like kind of like slingshot back out into our local communities and create impacts in our local communities. So yeah, it's the online permaculture space is a very kind of like new and interesting, ever evolving space. So, and I think like there's a lot of like intrigue and a lot of figuring out how to make it work. So I think that's why we gather here. I'll pass it to January.
Okay, thank you, Alan, for passing it to me. I feel like what brings us together is the concern which we have about the damage happening in the world, because there are lots of damages, and we are also having lots of climate challenges which are equally affecting us. No one is spared, and no matter where you are coming from and what you are doing, at the end, when the impact of climate change and all other effects are coming, we are still the people who are affected. And by looking at that, we are joined by our common interest to make the world a better place for each and everyone. And the other thing is we are also concerned. There are things which can talk like human being, but there are things which cannot talk, like trees and the insects and all those small living things which are human being never cared about, but they have lots of impact, whether deep down the soil or even up in the trees as well as in the sky. So this world is more of interdependency. So ourselves as the people who understood about permaculture, agroecology, and all those things, we really want to make sure that we have to balance all these things, though it's not easy. So that connects us together because we share the concept. I can hand it over to Peace Foundation.
Yeah, great. Hello, everyone. It's interesting. It's amazing. I see that Paul, Alan, and even January I've already cited most of the issues and most of the attracting factors why we are here together tonight. So I see that what makes us be like bees working together on the same hive is the similarity, is the mindset, the way, the world view we have about what is affecting the world in terms of climate change. I had the mention of permaculture. Of course, it means that there's something cutting across among us. Today, I joined RAID. Today, I moved to Uganda Wildlife Authority, a body responsible for conservation and from the government side. So when I got into a discussion with the park warden, we end up being like friends because the language we are talking, the issues we are looking at, issues of garbage, issues of river banks protection, issues of landslides, we are like having the same mind. And so I see this as a guild, as an ecosystem of people who are like-minded, people who feel affected by the same causes, the same issues, and then wish to devise alternatives of solving the same issues despite the geographical location, which brings in what he mentioned about the issue of the internet and the digital world, making us be able to interact, to be able to think together, and be able possibly to look at what is affecting the world today than other people who are not now concerned, especially those who are looking at the commercial world, the monetary world, the world of numbers and figures. So I see that the trend, the thinking about the future, the thinking about being connected to the earth, to the planet, and how things are happening, it is making us be here together to see how, despite the geographical differences we have, some people they could be in the global north, others in the global south, as I see. So we can possibly devise knowledge and approaches of solving these issues that are affecting the world. Yeah, I think this is it. And for us now as Peace Foundation is permaculture education, action, and community empowerment. I've already shared the link about it. All that I see, the information I've been seeing before, I don't know how I came to this, to the network, but I think whatever I see is all about our dream, is all about our desire, what we wish to see happen. We are even thinking of how can we make governments responsible, you know. There are many issues which now I think in each one's mind, we are looking at these same issues, working on the same goals. So this is what I have, I think, to share at this point. I don't know whether everyone is able to hear me well.
Yes, thank you so much, Fred, for your intervention. And thank you, January, also for chipping in, and Alan. I know you didn't put yourself in the core team there, but your reflections were welcome. I mean, to close the round, I think what brings us together is a recognition of the need that we see, and also a call to do something about it. And I'm very happy that I'm not alone. I felt for some time quite alone with it, and I think the funding circle is such a great opportunity to bring people together at whatever capacity they can contribute to, whether that's giving feedback for something we can do better, changing what we do more, do less of something, do something, I don't know. There's so much potential. So that's how I would answer that. We're not going to cover all the questions today because I think that's an opportunity to delve into the next meetings. But if you would like to make use of these templates that I have shared on the Miro, please feel free to copy and paste the Miro templates, or just send me a message and I can send you the template separately if you want to use it in your communities or your other projects. Especially the Community Weaver template is, I think, really good for co-creating. And I think we move to closing the meeting slowly. First of all, by identifying the next step for me is to contact Cormac, Paul, and Dania to organize the first core team meeting. And then maybe together we can decide whether we want to have more open circle meetings, which would be maybe interesting for people who couldn't make it today. Alan, I please invite you to have a look at the Miro board. If you feel called to adding yourself to the core team, then I will also add you onto the invite. Have a look through. I wrote all the definitions and everything there. But if there's something that you don't understand or something is not clear, you can either watch the recording from today, or you can ask me directly a question. And I'm also happy to meet with you one-to-one if you like. The same with Fred and January, if you are interested in being more participative. I know that both of you are quite new to the CoLab, so I would advise you to go through the onboarding first, as it gives you really a good understanding. There's also, because Fred is from the Democratic Republic of Congo, and January, you're from Uganda, right? So there's a channel in the CoLab called Permaculture in Africa, which you can join today. And there's other people who are also in grassroots projects. They're from the African continent, who are more than happy to share their experience about the CoLab and how to find things around. And it's quite a convivial place. If you, after this meeting, you think, oh my God, there was so much information, and I actually remember I have 3-4 questions that I never got to ask, then you can ask them in the channel. So it's for everyone's benefit to see the answers. If it's something that you want to ask privately, you can also send me a direct message, and I'll talk to you there. Oh, that was so much, no? I talk like at 100 miles an hour. This is not helping my very dry throat. Okay, so let's move into a luxurious round of checkouts. And I did prepare one, but I think we can just ask, how are you leaving this call? Like, do you have a final reflection that you want to share with us? And I'm gonna pass it to Alan, and then you can pass it to the next person, Alan.
Can you repeat the question again, Amy, please?
How are you leaving this call? Do you have any final reflection?
I'm leaving sad that I missed most of it. That's my reflection. But I'll look into the Miro board, and yeah, I'll send it to Daniel.
Thank you, Alan. Yeah, I'm leaving kind of enthusiastic about meeting again soon, if possible. I don't have questions. I think you've answered much more questions that I thought I had. And I'm thrilled to be able to be together with you and Paul and Cormac to work on the next steps. Also, I feel that the organization that you brought and proposed was great. Your facilitation was more than great. And yeah, I'm very happy to have been here. Thank you, Amy. And I pass it to January.
Thank you, Daniel, and the entire team. And you were so great people. I've learned quite a lot from you guys, and especially our facilitator was just very amazing. And I'm very inspired, and I'm very happy to find myself into this forum, and I'll do all the need to make sure that I have to become part and parcel of this network. You know, I've met generous people who are concerned about lots of things, who are believing that we are not the only living thing in this world, but we really need to take care of all other living things. So I'm very inspired and looking towards meeting everybody and looking towards implementing projects together, because these are just ideas which we are adding up. But when we are adding these ideas, we really need to make sure that we have to implement the ideas so that we can make the impact. Thank you, our facilitator. You are the best facilitator for the year. Thank you. I pass it to Paul.
Well, I will also say, well done, Amy, and it has been everything very well organised. I think I'm still feeling a bit daunted by the whole CoLab project, particularly because when I look across just the people here, how spread out around the world we all are. I'm in Spain, and we're in Africa. There's, I think, Alan, you're in Costa Rica, are you? And Daniel, I'm not sure where you are. But how does an organization support so many diverse people in so many diverse ways, and how do you bring that all together? I'm also part of the event CoLab thing, which is going to be looking at what does the CoLab look like as it goes forward. And it's a very daunting thing to think about. Wow, how do you bring all of those different perspectives, different ideas, different wants and needs together, and develop something that's coherent, but also serves everybody in a kind of equal way. So it's quite daunting, but fortunately, I can see it's just like what I always say is sometimes you don't have to, you based on the people that you meet, you go, well, okay, well, there's a lot of people with the right expertise and the right intentions here, and therefore you can have trust and faith that it's going to go in the right direction. Even though obviously it's a big daunting subject. So I'm really keen to learn more from the people who've been through this a lot longer, and see if I can bring some fresh ideas and insight to that. So I'm really looking forward to it. And I will pass. Who's left? I think. Is there anyone left, or was I the last?
I think Fred. Alan, have you been
Yes.
yet?
Oh, Fred. Sorry, Fred. Sorry, Fred.
Yeah. Thank you. Great, Paul. It's amazing. I'm personally motivated and encouraged by this circle and meeting. So I'm thinking that there is a bright future, and given the generous contribution and ideas coming from each and everyone here, it gives more hope that when we see these issues happen here, we think sometimes that they are only happening here and no one is caring. So when it comes to a platform like this, where we see like-minded people, like I'm seeing on this platform, and I'm hearing, it gives a hope that there is a possibility and potential that we can change the world when we join hands together. So I'm leaving this meeting when I'm hopeful and motivated to do all that is required on my side to encourage others and myself to move forward. It's really amazing.
Thank you, Fred.
Yeah, and I don't know who else hasn't talked. Concluded, maybe Alan, maybe Daniel. Yeah.
Daniel has been already.
The facilitator,
Alan, everyone has been. So just me, I think.
Facilitator herself, how she felt.
I feel very encouraged that so many people showed up. I feel good about having done this. It's a little scary always, to go to the community to say we're struggling here and we need more people at the table and more people at the wheel and more wheels. But yeah, this has been really, really cool. And I'm also very happy to see Fred and January participate as new members of the CoLab, that they have interest and enthusiasm for such activities. And I'm very excited to see what's next. Thank you so much, everybody. We even finished with a little bit time, which gives me enough time to upload the video on YouTube and make the follow-up messages. So really nice parcel right there. Thank you, everybody. I'll be in touch to to get the next meeting organized.
Thanks, everybody. Great to meet you.
Thank you, Amy.
Thanks, Amy.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks,
Take
Amy.
care. Ciao, ciao.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.